Dr. Fauci's role in the cover-up was intentional. Dr. Fauci influenced the analytical process and findings by leveraging his position to ensure the IC consulted with a conflicted list of curated subject matter experts, public health officials, and scientists. This included some of the authors of the paper, The Proximal Origin of SARS-CoV-2, and other public health experts who have been in his orbit for the last 20-plus years. Some of the scientists were part of the Biological Sciences Experts Group, or the BSEG, an office of Director National Intelligence Advisory Body, whose members often receive considerable funding from NIAID and public health agencies. The BSEG scientists influenced national laboratory, WMD research, policy decisions, finished analysis, and other intelligence matters, creating misaligned incentives and conflicts of interest, as well as counterintelligence issues. Several of the BSEG scientists helped Dr. Fauci rewrite definitions of gain of function in 2015 to lift a funding pause on dangerous research. Still others participated in planning Event 201 in 2019. This was a coronavirus pandemic tabletop exercise, curiously similar to the events that played out during the COVID-19 pandemic. And it was attended by Dr. Fauci and individuals with IC ties like former DNI Avril Haines. The CIA and DNI analytic managers responsible for examining the origin of COVID made decisions inconsistent with the conclusions of subject matter experts and analytical tradecraft, consistently favoring the theory of zoonosis or natural origin. Following the CIA's COVID relook that culminated in 2023, the CIA retaliated against analysts supporting the lab leak hypothesis. CIA analysts were not bribed. The analysts that supported the 2023 lab leak conclusion took every administrative measure available to them to address their deep concerns regarding the analytic integrity of their finished intelligence. CIA managers retaliated against them for their refusal to agree with management's middle-of-the-night anonymous rewrite of the analysis, which changed the assessment to a non-call judgment. Dr. Anthony Fauci's influence over the IC's COVID origin analysis and the witting and unwitting role some BSEG scientists and IC personnel played in the cover-up exposed why this issue is of deep concern. Failure to address the United States government's inability to differentiate between public health and biodefense and the oversight-resistant ecosystem of life science actors has been fertile ground for increasingly dangerous continental United States gain-of-function research, as well as similar research conducted in U.S. government-supported labs abroad.
6 years later, and I am vindicated. I spent the better part of 6 years talking to people on the internet through my phone about what is going on in the world and plans that are afoot to lead us into a new revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, if you will. I know for a fact that the United States government and the Chinese government, between the University of South Carolina and the Wuhan Institute of Virology, were working on coronaviruses. I know that for a fact. I know for a fact that the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic was as a result of that same experimented virus that leaked from one of those labs. What I don't know for a fact is whether or not the leak was intentional, but it is my considered view that it was an intentional leak based on the circumstantial evidence that is available to me. When I say I know for a fact, I do not mean I have personal knowledge. Personal knowledge would be first-hand knowledge, meaning I was in the lab working on the virus with them or observing them working on the virus. That would be personal knowledge by my definition. When I say I know for a fact, what I am talking about is the grants that were given to EcoHealth Alliance through NIH and NIAID and the university and the Wuhan University of Technology in China. The publications that were made by the scientists involved in those experiments, the interviews that were done by Peter Daszak of EcoHealth Alliance, where he himself made pronouncements to that effect. So that's where I get my facts from. The grants the papers that were published, and the interviews that Dr. Daszak gave speaking about those experiments. And so here we are in 2026, and we have the CIA whistleblower. Now, I'm not going to pontificate on why we now have this whistleblower and the authenticity, well, not authenticity, but the motives or the motivations behind this thing. I don't know if you can have a CIA whistleblower without the CIA sanctioning it. I don't know if that is a possibility. But we have this man now saying, well, there was a cover-up. Something that we have been saying for 6 years now, and no one believes us. And I know there's a lot of things going on right now that I believe are distractions and are subordinate to this specific news item. Why is it important? Why is this more pressing and important than everything else that is happening right now, whether in your location or across the globe? Why is this more important than the Supreme Court overturning the Voting Rights Act and wanting to redistrict certain constituency in the United States of America, or whatever the situation might be? Why is this more important, than these billions of dollars that the Jamaican government has received in the wake of Hurricane Melissa, and they can't account for, they claim that they haven't spent the money and we don't have any valid justifications as to why they have not spent that money? Why is this more important than, the closing of the Strait of Hormuz and this fake war between the United States of America and Iran? It is more important because all of those things are distractions. All of those things that I just mentioned are distractions because there's a larger plan at play here. The same plan that I have been preaching about. I have been the Jonah of our time. Well, no one ever really preached nothing, but we don't know where the story they come from. Say, no, we don't want people. But according to people, we have sense, no one in want nobody. But according to the prevailing narrative, I am the Noah of our time. I am the watcher. I am the messenger, the harbinger, if you will, who have been saying for 6 years now that these people are trying to reset the world. This great reset, this is not even like, that's what they call it. The great reset, the great narrative, the fourth industrial revolution, because we are upon the fourth turning is upon us. And if you don't know what the fourth turning is, then that's something that you have to research yourself, right? And they believe that because the economy is built on a house of cards, and the house of cards is tumbling down, right? It is at the end of its life cycle. And these people who have acquired all the power and the wealth that they can have to last several lifetimes over decide that, listen, I'm not going to give up my wealth and power. So why don't we do a controlled demolition of society? That's what they're planning now. So that's what you see. What you see happening is a controlled demolition of society. And there are multiple players involved. And all of the players that you see, the visible ones, they don't know what the plan is. It's like you pay somebody $100 to walk into a coffee shop and take a picture. They just collect the $100. They don't know why you're paying them to go into this coffee shop to take a picture. They don't know. They have absolutely. So even if you were to accost that person and be like, why are you taking a picture? They don't know. Like, some guy paid me $100 to take a picture of the inside of the rest of the coffee shop. I don't know. So the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Elon Musk and the what's his face, Bill Gates, these people are puppets in the larger scheme. The real masterminds are behind the scenes and we don't know them. And what they're trying to do is to bring about an apocalypse. They're trying to kill 7 billion people. It sounds ridiculous. But of course, if you took any time out of your day to look at the Epstein files that were released, you would realize that, if somebody had told me that this was happening, I would have think that you're crazy. It sounds crazy because these people are crazy. They're lunatics. And their belief is that they can transfer their consciousness to AI or upload it to the internet or virtually or whatever, so that they will now become these AI gods and live forever. But that leaves billions of people for them to control. The original plan, of course, coming from the 1970s was to kill everybody and you have 500 million people left, and the 500 million people would be serfs, kind of like the Hunger Games Society, but they have upgraded that to 1 billion, so you'd have about roughly 1 billion people that they can use for whatever reason they want to use it for. They have several papers that they have published. You could look at Policy Horizon Canada, the biodigital convergence. If you Google that, it will give you a snapshot of their plan for the future, right? But the hand is writing on the wall. And I hope that all of us wake up to the reality before it is too late. Because if you wait until things have the has gone through the gate already, at that point, you just have to wait until they collapse. And when the dust settles, then I guess we decide how we act from there.